Hi, this is Janet Fish, and I am the owner of Breakaway Business Coaching and the host of the Breakthrough Your Profit Ceiling podcast. And if you've listened to the podcast at all or you follow me on social media, you know that I am obsessed with email marketing and automation. And so today I want to just spend a few minutes with you and take you through a masterclass that talks about 10 steps to maximizing your email list. So about, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, I started really getting deep into email marketing and automation. And so I had done some before, but I hadn't really kept it up to date. It was kind of old and outdated. And I really needed to not only bring it up to speed, but I really wanted to capitalize on it. And I had created some new lead magnets, and I wanted to make sure that I had automations that led my prospects or my customers through the journey that I wanted to take them on. So I really focused on not only building my list, but also capitalizing on the list and creating best practices around how to effectively market through email, and then how you can use automation to really do so much of the work for you. So I want to take you through the 10 steps to maximizing your email list. I hope you enjoy the masterclass. All right, so let's just jump right in. So the first step of maximizing your email list is to build your list through engagement. Like, let's go out and talk to people, right? Novel concept, right? But it really is conscientious, thought-provoking, intentional talking to people. So I really want you to have a plan for how you're going to engage people, and that's called your marketing strategies. So implementing those marketing strategies, having a plan on how you're going to and where you're going to engage people. Where do you find the people that are your target market? We talk a lot about target market and who they are and identifying them and who your specific niche is. But I really want you to understand where they are and then have a plan about how you're going to go and engage with them. And I would say have a plan on how you're going to build your list. Where are you going to go to build your list? We'll talk about the components of it as we go through this masterclass, but I really want you to think about it and do it in a conscientious, intentional way. Have a goal for how you're going to build your list and how big you're going to build your list and the pace in which you want to build your list. And then be consistent with your engagement, whether it's in-person engagement, whether it's through social media, through Zoom, through whatever you use to engage with people. You really need to be consistent with it in order to continually be in front of people so that they know, like, and trust you, and boom, get on your email list. How do you manage your list? So that's step number 2 in how you really maximize your list, and that is starting with having a place to put all of your email addresses, so that you might call that a CRM, a customer relationship management system. You might call it an email service provider, but they are things like, GetResponse, Aweber, Keep. I use ActiveCampaign, MailChimp. There's a whole, and Salesforce.com. There's whole big and small email service providers, but you need a place, one, to keep them all, where you can easily and effectively create campaigns. And so it doesn't matter which one you choose, they're all pretty good. Like I said, I'm a big fan of ActiveCampaign, but you just need to have one, and then you need to manage that list. So you need to segment the list into categories that make sense for you. Customers and non-customers. Customers who have bought this product and not another product. Because the last thing you want to do, if someone is already in your coaching program, you don't want to send them emails selling your coaching program. They're going to be like, they don't understand me, they're missing the mark. So segmentation allows you to very intricately, down to you could have as many tags in ActiveCampaign, they call them tags, or segments as you want. You're going to have hundreds of them if you wanted. So you can go down to a finite and infinite number of segments, but they just need to make sense so that you can identify who's in your list, who's in your database of people, so that your marketing message, your email marketing messages, you can talk to those specific categories or those specific tags. And understand that your list is your gold. I mean, I think so many people overlook the value of the asset that their email list is. It is an unbelievably valuable asset for your business. If someone was thinking, let's say you were thinking about selling your business, the first thing they're going to ask you is how many clients do you have or how many prospects do you have? And they're going to want to see the database. They're going to want to see how many people. They might even want to see your open rates and how often people engage with you. Your list is so important. So I want you to keep that in mind as we talk about how to maximize the list, because it is just such a key component of your business and growing your business. So let's get down to some basics, which is the anatomy of an email. Like this, some of the stuff seems pretty obvious, but some of it is kind of intricately nuanced. Some of it you may not know, but some of it you may, and I might give you a different way of looking at it. But all of these things are important for the effectiveness of any kind of an email or email campaign. So the first part of the anatomy of an email is it deliverable or not, right? So the last thing we want is it to not get delivered at all. So bounce rates, so that it's a bad email or for whatever reason it bounces. So we want to understand how many of those we have. We want to understand if it's going to spam. That's a really important thing to know. So the deliverability of the email is an important place to start when you're looking at the anatomy of an email. And then the from line. So I think we take the from pretty much for granted, but I want you to think about one thing. If you've got your personal and your business, when you send an email, which should it come from? And when should it come from you personally, and when should it come from your business? And how that will affect the open rate of that email, because the from can cause people to open it or to not. If everyone knows you from your name and all of a sudden they get an email from Breakaway Business Coaching and they don't know that's the name of my company, then they're not even going to open it because they're going to think it's from someone they don't even know, and vice versa. If you're used to using your company and all of a sudden you throw your name in there, that might throw people off. So the from, although it seems obvious, is something to put some thought into. The subject line, probably the most important piece of any email, because if no one opens your email, then it doesn't matter. Like you could have the best copy in your email, you could have the best offer in your email, but if no one opens it, it doesn't matter. So the subject line is really, really important. And I'll tell you right ahead, at the end of this, I'm going to offer you the chance to come to one of my workshops where we go into all of these things in great detail. So I'm going to be straight up and above board with you. It's a phenomenal workshop, and it's really, really inexpensive. But we go into all of these things in much greater detail in that workshop. All right, the email pre-header. So some people don't even know what the email pre-header is. So I want you to think about emails as they come into your inbox. You'll see the subject line, and then sometimes you'll see like a line that's underneath that. That's called the email pre-header. And in most email service providers, you get to determine what that is. So you get to write the email pre-header. A lot of them, if you leave it blank, will just pull in the first line of your email. So if that works for you, then just leave it. Otherwise, you may want to actually put in the pre-header, because the pre-header If the subject line doesn't get them to open it, the pre-header gives you another chance to pique their curiosity and say, hey, I really want to find out what she wants to talk about in this email, so I'm going to open this email. And then let's talk about email design. So if you are heavily branded, then you want that email, the design of your email, to look like your brand. So you might have a header on the top with the right colors and all of that. I don't do a lot of extensive design in my email except for to make them really easy to read and really easy on the eye. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But it may be something that helps people identify with you because like you're staying on brand. So email design is something to take into consideration. So second to the subject line, the probably second most important piece of your email is the email content. So what does it say? What kind of great information are you giving me that I want to read more and read more and read more, and perhaps click through to whatever you want me to click through to, whether it's an offer or just more information. But the content is really, really important. And I want you to think about, when you think about best practices, that content being something that's really easy to read, that's maybe bullet points or short sentences or short paragraphs. If I open an email that looks like I'm reading a book, I'm closing that email and I'm moving on. I'm never going to read through all of that. So just understand that you want to have really good content that's easy on the eye and easy to consume. And then you may have an email header or a banner. So you might have something at the top, like I said, it might be an image, it might be something that is branded for you. So you might want to add a email, like a header or banner at the top. And then footer. Most email service providers require that you have an unsubscribe and an address and some other things in the footer. The footer might be a great place for you to put one of your offers. So just kind of a subtle, I have one that says, you stuck? Do you want to do a marketing audit with me? Sit down, get a free marketing assessment. So I put that in my footer. So you might have your signature. So whatever you want to put in the footer, but that is kind of the last piece of the anatomy of an email. Okay, let's talk about some email marketing best practices. So when I talk about email marketing, one of the things that I really push is, the follow-up. Right? I have an email address. What am I going to do with it? I need to follow up. So it means I need to email people. And in an email, there are 3 different, what I'll call, components of an email. So we already talked about the anatomy of an email, but now I want to talk about kind of the action on the other end. So the first part of an email would be the interest phase. So is my subject line interesting enough that somebody's gonna open the email? So that's really an important, is it interesting enough? Either the subject line or the pre-header text, is it interesting enough to get me to act? Push, click on it to open it. The hook phase is all about the content that I have in my email. So if it's great content, do you hook me in? Do I read more? Do I click through to do what you want me to do? That's the second most important thing. Have you hooked me in with great, great content? And I would also, we'll talk a little bit about multimedia in a second. And then the third phase is the conversion phase. Did I do what you wanted me to do? Did I click through to the link? Maybe it's back to your website to read more. Is it clicking through to sign up for a strategy session with me? Is it maybe buying something from me? I mean, we don't want to have a lot of emails that are super salesy and asking you to buy, but we do want to look at, did people click through and do what you asked them to do? And that's called the conversion phase. Okay, so let's talk some more about email marketing best practices. I get asked this question all the time. How frequently should I send out an email? And I would say that depends on your relationship with your clients and your prospects and the people in your email list. I like once a week. I wish I could say I send out an email every week. I don't, but that is my goal, to send out an email every week. But whatever works for you, for the clients that you're working with or the prospects or who's ever in your database. You may want to send prospects emails more frequently than maybe customers, because customers are already working with you. So it depends, but you need to make a conscious decision on how frequently you should send emails. It shouldn't be left up to whenever, because that's probably going to be a lot less frequent than you should. Then the length of the email, and I would say this about the length of the email: as long as it takes to convey the message that you want to convey, and not a word longer. So shorter is better. Short to the point, catch their interest, help them understand what you want them to do, boom, be done. Like, not super lengthy emails, because I don't think people really like super lengthy emails. And then make sure you have great content. We talked about that a second ago, but really make sure that it is effective. It is effective to what the needs of the people who are reading your emails, so your prospects or your customers. Make sure that content is about them and it's suiting their needs and their desires and what they want. Not about you, it's about them. So that's really important when you think about great content. And then make it multimedia. Don't send out a text email every single time. Add some video, add some images. Sometimes a powerful image can say way more than words can say. So mix it up so that people aren't bored with seeing the same thing over and over and over again. Make sure that it includes multimedia. And then have a strong call to action. Tell them exactly what you want them to do. Don't make them figure it out. Tell them exactly what you want them to do. And only ask them to do one thing. A confused mind doesn't make a decision. So only ask them to do one thing. A strong call to action to do one thing will be your most effective ways to get people along your journey in your email marketing. So create great content. I get asked this question all the time, like, what should my emails be? And so I want to talk about some categories of emails, some types of emails to get your juices flowing, as far as like, oh yeah, I could definitely put together some email campaigns because I have that, and that. So let's talk about first, like, campaign types. And so the first one is a broadcast email. So we just got through the holiday promotion time, Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday. So a lot of us sent out an email blast, a broadcast of our offer to our entire list. So that's kind of a one-shot, send it out, broadcast to everybody. That's the kind of email that I think is effective for things like a holiday promotion. I think people are kind of even expecting some broadcast emails around the holiday. Let's say you have a new product, or you're moving to a new location, or there's something exciting going on in your business. Send out a broadcast email. The next kind of campaign type I want to talk about is a weekly. So that would be, and it could be set up automatically, it could be an automation, or it could be a blast. But I want you to really think about communicating with your tribe once a week. What's going on for you? What you're grooving on? What you're nerding out on? What you're noticing? What's happening in the industry? I have a podcast. I like to talk about the nuggets of that I think would be really interesting for my audience that came out of the podcast that got released that week. So I might talk a little bit about that, maybe encourage them to go listen to the podcast. But it's got to be about them. It can't be about my podcast. It's got to be about tidbits that I might have covered in the podcast or at my person I interviewed, we talked about, that would pique the interest of the people reading those emails. So that would be a weekly type of campaign. And then automations. So automation, we'll talk a lot about that on the next slide. But automations are really set it up once and it runs multiple emails in a string that takes them along their journey. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. And then I want just some email marketing examples. So a welcome series. You meet somebody and you put them in your email list, or someone opts in for one of your free things. So you want a welcome series. Welcome to the Breakthrough Your Podcast community, Breakthrough Your Profit Ceiling community. join my Facebook group, or just welcome to the community, and just a series of emails that welcome them in, and then kind of move them along that journey, the journey you want to take them on. The next is a triggered, which we see a lot, and I'm sure you've seen that in your inbox. You go and you opt in for 10 steps to make your holidays much brighter, because we're in the holiday season right now, or just 10 steps to make your life more wonderful, and whatever that looks like for you. You opt in, you give them your name and your email address, and then that triggers a series of emails. And I would say if you have, you should have lead magnets, or a lead magnet, which is your free irresistible offer at the top of your product funnel. You should have a triggered automation 7 to 20, because that's what the marketers say takes for people to get to know, like, and trust us enough to actually do something or buy something from us. So you should think about, once it's triggered, someone has opted in for your free irresistible offer, you set up a series of emails that go out over time. And every time someone opts in for that particular lead magnet, they go through that same process of triggered emails. The other one is re-engagement, and I love this one because I think we kind of forget about it. We've got an email list, and you know what? I think the open rate of most emails, the average is between 20 and 30 or 40, which is a pretty good open rate. If you're getting 20 to 40%, that's a pretty good open rate by standards. But so there are people who haven't opened an email in 6 months or 3 months or a year, whatever that time frame is for you. In most of the email service providers, you have the ability to identify that they haven't opened up an email in a certain amount of time and send them a re-engagement campaign or a re-engagement email series. It says, "Hey, Joe, I noticed you haven't opened an email in a long time. Curious to see what you're up to. If you have any feedback, give them some really good quality information. Come back and join us." And then if you're no longer interested, put an unsubscribe button right there. In all of the email service provider softwares that are out there, you pay by the number of email addresses you have in your database. So if you have 1,000 people in your database and 400 of them are not active and aren't going to open, you want to get those out of your one, because they're never going to open, or they're never going to do anything with you, and two, you're paying for all of that. So a re-engagement campaign is a great way to get people reinvigorated, get them re-engaged, or get them off your database, so that you're not paying for people who are never going to do anything with you. And then the thank you delivery. So this kind of gets tied to the triggered, or gets tied to the opt-in. But if you go 35 ways to build your list, I have an opt-in, a free 35 ways to build your email list. You opt in for that. I send you an email immediately that says thank you, and here is your document of 35 ways to build your email list. And then I might say, and welcome to the community, and I'm going to expect to tell them that they should expect to get a series of emails, and then from that I do an automation series. I'll go back to create great content that makes them want to open, because if they never open it, then it doesn't matter. Like, you'll never see your great content because they'll never open it, so they'll never see it. All right. I'm going to reiterate developing a strong call to action, because I think that sometimes we just write emails for the sake of writing emails, and we don't really think about the strong call to action. What is the intended outcome? What do I want them to do? Make it very, very clear. And make it up front. Don't make them read all the way down to the bottom. Oh, you want me to do this? Make it really clear. Tell them exactly what you want them to do. Click here to learn more. Click here to do this. Like, make it really, really clear, and make it simple. Don't make it, like I said, tell them one thing to do. Don't tell them 12 things to do. Don't even tell them 2 things to do. Give them one thing to do, and make it really simple, and make it obvious, and make it clear. Let's talk a little bit about email metrics. And I like to say, don't solve a problem you don't have. So you go into your email service provider and you notice that you're not seeing a lot of opens of your emails. So you might immediately jump to some conclusion about why that is, which may or may not be true.
which is why I say don't solve a problem that you don't have. So there's metrics that you can go through that really help you pinpoint where the bottlenecks are, or where the struggles are, or where the holdups are, or where I'm not connecting, people aren't opening my email addresses or my emails, or they're not doing what I asked them to do. So there's some metrics. So let's first start with the delivery rate. Did it get delivered or not? What percentage of the emails that I send out get bounced? Soft bounce, meaning it just isn't delivered. Hard bounce means the email address is incorrect. So you want to look at how many emails get delivered. And as I said before, you also want to think about, are they going to spam? Are they going to the spam folder? And is that one of the reasons that people aren't opening my emails, because they're not finding them because they're in spam? So that's the first thing to think about when you look at the email metrics. The second thing is the open rate, and that's obvious. What percentage of people opened the email? And like I said, if a 20% open rate's really good. I talked to a client the other day who had a 40 to 60% open rate. I mean, she doesn't have a big database, but man, they definitely open her emails. So if you're getting a 10 to 15% open rate, that's not horrible, right? 20 to 30 is better. But I will also say, if you're segmenting your list, meaning you are identifying categories of people to send those emails to, your open rates are going to go up because they're targeted, they're more specifically targeted. If you're doing a blast to your whole list, chances are your open rates are going to go down. If you're doing a blast to a segment of your list that's and the email is specifically targeted to them, your open rates are going to go up. And then your click-through rate. Did they click? If you've asked them to click, to read more, learn more, do something, did they click through? And all their email service providers will give you these metrics. The complaint rate. So you don't want people complaining that you're spam. So that's why your content should be really good. So that is one of the things you can see on these email service providers is there a complaint rate. I'll also talk about unsubscribes. I don't know why it's not on here. People freak out when they get unsubscribes, and I get unsubscribes all the time. And I look at it this way, then that's one less person who's not going to do, it's a person who's not going to do anything with me anyway. One less person I'm paying for in my email service provider. Don't worry about unsubscribes. Think of unsubscribes are a good thing. Don't take it personally. They're not resonating with what you've got. That's fine. Move on. Don't worry about it. Focus on getting new email addresses. Don't focus on the unsubscribes. And then there's something A/B testing. So A/B testing meaning, let's say I have 1,000 people in my database. I can take 500 names and 500 names, and I can test two different things. Let's say I want to test that's super simple, the subject line. So I might have one subject line for 500, one subject line for the other 500, and see what your open rates look like. That's called A/B testing. And you can A/B test all sorts of things. Days and times that you are sending, colors, the ask, the verbiage in your email, content within your emails. Unlimited things that you can A/B test. But I'll say a warning, only change one thing at a time. Because if you change the subject line, the pre-header, and your offer, I can't tell which of those, right? Too many options, I can't tell. One at a time. Do the subject line. Then head-to-head the offer. Then head-to-head the day of the week, or whatever it is. But don't do multiples of those, because then you can't tell what the differences are. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about automations. I love automations. And what are they? They are ongoing contact with the people that are in your database of emails. Typically, like I said, 7 to 20 emails, because that's what the marketers tell us it takes for people to take action, buy something, schedule time with you, whatever that might look like. It takes 7 to 20 emails. So I have clients who say, yeah, I emailed them 3 times and nothing happened. Okay, it takes 7 to 20 emails, which is why automations are so cool, because you can set them up one time, you build it one time, and you're done. Like one and done, and then it's there, and people go along that journey. And I talk about the customer or the client or the prospect journey, because I don't want to just write a bunch of emails to write a bunch of emails. I want to take people on a journey. I want to give them content, and ask. Content, and ask. And I want it to be something that makes sense as far as the flow goes. So I lay out the plan for my automations before I write any emails. I will lay out the plan of where I want them to do and what those emails will look like, and then I'll go back and I'll fill in the actual content by writing the emails. And you should have multiple automations. I mean, automations can be small. Like I did a small automation for my Black Friday. I think there were 4 or 5 emails in it that went out the week of Black Friday, and then so that they can be small from that perspective. But if you're writing an automation in response to, let's say, your lead magnet, 10 steps to financial freedom. I have a lead magnet called 10 steps to financial freedom. So guess what? I have 18 emails that go through those 10 steps to financial freedom, and they look like, so one of the steps is target market. We talked about target market earlier. So I might write an email that is text about target market, and then I might do a video about target market, right? So I've hit them in a couple of different ways because people like to consume information in different ways. So I might go through my 10 steps doing different kinds of media and different ways of conveying the message, but I have it all lined up. I have a plan for where I want people to go and the journey I want to take them on. And like I said, you can have multiple automations for different, let's say, lead magnets or different circumstances, different products. You're going to build multiple automations as you go through the process. And then after you've created the actual plan, then you go back and you create individual emails. So you follow that plan. You use multimedia, like I said. You might do so text and then an image and then a video. And I would say follow the best practices, which once again, we go into great detail in the workshop about what those best practices are. I share with you my 5 and 1, how often to give content email versus an ask. So I have an actual formula that I use for how often I want to actually ask people to do something. And then know that you can reuse email copy. You can reuse different email copy in different automations that make sense for the journey that you want to go on. The next step in the process, and kind of the last step in the process, is to analyze and revise. So with your emails, whether it's an individual email, whether it is a email automation campaign, you need to have a clear intention of what you want them to do so that you know whether it's working or whether it's not working. If you don't have an intention of what exactly you want them to do, then how do you know whether it's working or not? How do you know if they're actually going on the journey that you want to take them through? So clear intention, look at what's working, what's not working. Follow the metrics. Like utilize those metrics to understand how to fine-tune your email copy, your email campaigns. Those metrics are out there for a reason. Use them to really look at your emails and your email campaigns. And then incrementally test. Use A/B testing to figure out and fine-tune, like I said, what's working, what's not, how to more effectively maximize those emails and those campaigns. Absolutely utilize those things to, like I said, to better analyze those campaigns. And once you've created your email campaign, your automations, update them quarterly or once a year. Go back and look at them again. Don't just leave them out there forever and a day. Go back and look at them and see if it makes sense to refresh or update them with some things that might have changed from the last time. So I would say once a quarter, or at least twice a year, every 6 months, go back and look at your email automation and update them, make sure that they are where you want them to be and they're effectively working. Which leads me to my invitation to join me in my email marketing and automation workshop. One of my biggest pet peeves from workshops that I've attended is I leave there with 5 pages of notes, and then I never do anything with the notes. I never do anything. I never actually do the work. I just listen, make a whole lot of notes, have a whole lot of intentions, and never do anything with it. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. This is a workshop, emphasis on the work. And I want this workshop is different. I've done a number of them already, and the people walk out of them with email campaigns that are written in email copy, actually written. So we go through a much more in depth. It's a 4-hour workshop. We go in much more depth, the best practices to maximize your email marketing and automation. The things we touched on, we touched very high level today, but we go into much greater depths of what the best practices are, how to write an email automation, and best practices around email copy. And then I give you time in the workshop to actually work and create that journey, create the automation. You can ask questions, we can bounce ideas off of you, me, and other people in the workshop, but you actually sit down and write those automations, and then once you've got a good handle on that, you start writing the actual email copy. You walk out of that workshop with emails written that are ready to send. It's unlike any other workshop that I've ever attended, and the feedback that I've gotten from the people that have joined just has been phenomenal. They've gotten so much out of it because they walk away with actual actionable things that they can utilize that very day when they get home, get back to their office. So hope you'll join us in the email marketing and automation workshop. You can find more information, and you can register at www.breakawaybusinesscoaching.com/email marketing workshop. So that's email marketing workshop, all one word. Come join us. I would love to see you and learn more about how to really effectively maximize your email marketing and automation. Thanks for joining me on this masterclass. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I am coach@breakawaybusinesscoaching.com. You can find me on Instagram at breakawaybusinesscoaching. Come find me. I'd love to help you. I'd love to serve you any way that I could. Good luck with your email marketing and automation. Thanks.